Bill was held over, S 1306, the Cops Reauthorization Act of 2023. I understand there are ongoing negotiations on the path forward to reauthorize this important program. I will note that this bill has now been on the markup agenda for more than 2 months. Any remaining issues need to be resolved in a timely fashion, a matter of days, not weeks, so we can bring this bill to the floor. Before we vote, the ranking member and I will make brief remarks. Due to a conflicting markup in another committee, I'll ask members to hold further remarks until after we complete the votes, and I'll stick around as long as you wish. In 1962, President Kennedy signed a law authorizing the designation of May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls Police Week. During this time, we honor the brave men and women who serve with dignity and integrity as they work to protect our communities and families every day. We also commemorate officers we have lost in the line of duty. Since I became chair with the support of every member on a bipartisan basis, we have reported 11 bills during Police Week. 4 have been signed into law by President Biden. Earlier this week, the House passed the Recruit and Retain Act, which the committee reported during last year's Police Week. I hope the House will soon take up and pass the 2 other bills we reported last year. We honor the courage and dedication of officers like Louis Weska of the Chicago Police Department, a sad, tragic story. He was laid to rest just 2 weeks ago after being shot and killed as he returned home in uniform from his shift. Officer Weska is remembered as a loving son, brother, and uncle who demonstrated a commitment to service in his 6 years with the department. He always sought to brighten the days of his fellow law enforcement officers as they worked to keep Chicago safe. In addition to his sense of humor, Officer Weska was known for his love of travel. Even when he was on vacation in Morocco, he couldn't help himself. He pitched in to help a group of women who fell off a motorcycle. Officer Weska was killed only 2 days before his 31st birthday, just over a year after his friend and fellow officer Andre Mauricio Vasquez Leso was killed in the line of duty. We also honor 4 officers, including 1 deputy U.S. Marshal, who were killed in the line of duty in Charlotte, North Carolina, less than 3 weeks ago. Deputy Marshal Tommy Weeks served for over 20 years as a federal law enforcement officer. These 4 officers were dedicated public servants. They were devoted husbands and fathers. We grieve with their families and pray for their loved ones. Today, we remember their lives and the lives of hundreds of officers lost over the past year. We mourn the tragic loss of these outstanding people and too many others across the country. Police officers face difficult challenges every single day, both on duty and off, and they live with the physical, mental, and emotional toll of being the first responders in dangerous, often traumatizing situations. We can support law enforcement by providing officers with access to mental health care to manage the burden of being on the front line, and by giving state and local police departments more resources to manage the growing number of tasks they face. We also offer them the peace of mind that they and their families will be protected financially if they develop cancer as a result of their service. And we can take common sense steps to address the underlying causes of crime and invest in proven strategies. This week, we once again have the opportunity to unite in a shared goal, bipartisan goal, of supporting law enforcement by advancing this meaningful legislation that will make a difference. I now turn to Ranking Member Graham for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do this together, all of us, every year. I think this was one of the most important years we can make this statement. It's very difficult right now to be a police officer in America. And this resolution recognizes we appreciate what people in that line of work do, the men and women of the blue all over this country. We've had 227 members of law enforcement died in the line of duty and recognized to have died in the line of duty in 2023. 3 from South Carolina, Lieutenant Michael C. Wood, Jr., 48 years old, was the Newberry Police Department. He died in a collision with a tractor-trailer while on duty. Deputy Jacob B. Salerin, 23 years old, was with the Richland County Sheriff's Department. He died in a collision with a tractor-trailer while on duty. Officer Matthew L. Hare of Easley, 22, died while responding to a early morning call with a woman who was intoxicated, experienced a mental health crisis, and was lying on the Amtrak railroad tracks. He rescued her. He was caught in the tracks. He was hit by the train, and he died. He's the kind of young man that represents the best of all of us. He's now in the South Carolina Law Enforcement Hall of Fame. 45 officers have died in the line of duty from January to end of April. This is a dangerous business the men and women in blue take up. I'm honored to do this with you, Mr. Chairman, and all of us are together today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Graham. We'll continue the Police Week tradition of advancing bipartisan bills to support law enforcement. S930, the first bill, honoring our Fallen Heroes Act, sponsored by Senators Klobuchar and Kramer, co-sponsored by Senators Welch, Cruz, and Whitehouse. I ask unanimous consent that my name be added as a co-sponsor, without objection. This bipartisan bill would provide presumptive benefits under the Public Safety Officers Benefits Program for first responders, including police officers and firefighters who develop occupational cancer. The Honoring Our Fallen Heroes Act recognizes exposure-related cancer as an injury in the line of duty and ensures that officers and their families get the benefits they deserve. I understand there's a manager's amendment, ALL 24370, which I now call up and move to adopt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Ossoff,
I ask unanimous consent to be added as a co-sponsor for all three bills.
without objection. Any other senators make that
Mr.
request?
Chairman?
Senator Padilla.
If you don't want to be a co-sponsor, raise your hand.
No, thank you.
Well, then, all Democratic members, the same thing
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
side of the
I
aisle.
think I'm speaking for people who are not here. I bet they do. So you can always take your name off, but I'm going to add it to it. Okay, thanks.
So all the members will be shown as co-sponsors. The majority of members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it, the manager's amendment's adopted. Senator Klobuchar, would you like to speak to the bill?
Yes, very briefly, I'll speak more later. Thank you, Chair Durbin and Ranking Member Graham, for listing our bipartisan bill. This is such an incredibly important bill. Every day in cities and towns across this country, our first responders put their lives on the line. Sometimes, as Senator Graham just pointed out, they lose their lives immediately in tragic situations. Other times it's slower, like when they develop cancer by showing up at scenes like fire scenes. And this isn't just fire, it's also police. This bill supports our first responders by making sure that those who die or become totally and permanently disabled as a result of service-related cancers are taken care of under the PSOB program. And it honors our commitments that we make to those that stand up for us, police officers, firefighters, other first responders. It recognizes that not all on-the-job injuries are immediately obvious, and whether a first responder loses their life because of injuries suffered at a scene of the emergency or years later as a result of chemicals that they inhaled, we're going to have their families back. This bill is, of course, strongly supported by the police and fire community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. If no one else seeks recognition, we will now move to final passage. I'm going to ask for a roll call on the first. I spoke to Senator Graham about this. I ask a roll call on the first bill, and the other two are likely to be by voice vote. So on favorably reporting 930, the Honoring Our Fallen Heroes Act of 2023, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Whitehouse.
Aye.
Ms. Klobuchar. Aye. Mr. Hayes. Aye. Mr. Blumenthal. Aye. Ms. Hirono. Aye. Mr. Booker. Aye. Mr. Padilla. Aye. Mr. Ossoff. Aye. Mr. Welch.
Aye by proxy.
Ms. Butler. Aye. Mr. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Grassley.
Aye.
Mr. Cornyn. Aye. Mr. Lee.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Cruz.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Hawley.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Cotton.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Kennedy.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Tillis.
Aye by proxy.
Mrs. Blackburn. Chair Durbin.
Aye.
Chair Durbin, on this vote, the ayes are 21.
The majority of members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it, and the bill will be favorably reported to the floor. Next is S3335, Retired Federal Law Officers Continuing Service Act of 2023, sponsored by Senators Klobuchar and Grassley. This bipartisan bill would establish a grant program to help law enforcement agencies hire retired law enforcement personnel to assist in homicide investigations, to review camera footage, provide expertise in forensic analysis, and train civilian law enforcement staff to assist with these tasks. I understand there's a manager's amendment, ALL 24408, which I'll now call up and move to adopt. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The majority of members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it. The manager's amendment's adopted. Senators Klobuchar and Grassley, would you like to say a word about the bill?
Sure. You want to go first, Senator Grassley?
No, thank you.
Senator Grassley.
I'm glad that we're taking this bill up. This bipartisan bill awards grants to hire retired law enforcement agents to train civilian employees of state and local law enforcement and to perform civilian law enforcement duties. It's important that those with experience teach the next generation. Retired law enforcement officers have a wealth of knowledge that folks on the line can benefit from. It can't be easy serving in law enforcement, as we all know today. We've all seen footage of officers beaten in streets, manhandled in the line of duty, and called to situations others run from. And I want to thank those who choose to serve that way. A week dedicated to the police is no match for their sacrifices. It's this committee's duty to honor those sacrificed and not do it just one day, but all year round. And I thank the committee for taking this bill up.
Thanks, Senator Grassley. Senator Klobuchar.
Sure. I'm actually very excited about this idea because I think we all know small, medium-sized, large departments in our states don't have enough police officers right now. We're doing everything we can. That's what the COPS authorization bill, which hopefully will be taken up very soon in the next few days, as Senator Durbin said. One way. The other way is to think creatively, and that means retired officers, federal officers who may want to take a step back and not necessarily wear a badge and gun every single day, but are interested in helping out. I want to thank Senator Padilla as well, being a co-sponsor of this bill. And this will not only involve violent crimes investigations, it's also for things like cyber crimes, where they may have some very specific expertise that's helpful for smaller and medium-sized departments, and all kinds of investigations, for instance, carjackings and the like. And so it allows the Justice Department to help with police departments to hire these retired law enforcement officers who have honed and developed skills that we don't want to lose. So very excited, and thank you for the support of the committee on this bill.
Before proceeding for a vote on the bill as amended, I'm going to ask to be a co-sponsor. I'll ask again that all members be co-sponsors unless someone wishes not to.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be noted as a co-sponsor.
Me too. Oh, your side? You want your entire side?
I hate to speak for people not here, but let's just put everybody on it. And if you want off of it, you can get off of it.
Okay. So without objection, all of the members of the committee in both parties will be shown as co-sponsors of the legislation. So at this point, on favorably reporting S 3335, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The majority of the members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it, and the bill will be favorably reported to the floor. The third and final bill is S 4235, reauthorizing support and treatment for officers in Crisis Act of 2024, sponsored by Senators Hawley and Whitehouse. This bipartisan bill reauthorizes the STOIC Act, which established new suicide prevention and mental health programs for law enforcement. The STOIC Act authorized 5 years of federal support for these programs and other law enforcement family support services. This bill would extend the program another 5 years. Senator Whitehouse, would you like to comment on the bill?
Yeah, as you said, Chairman, this is the 5-year extension of the 2019 passage of the STOIC Act. I want to recognize Senator Hawley, who couldn't be here, who is my partner on this bill. I think we all know that police officers have to deal with some of the worst people in our communities. They have to deal with some of the best people on the worst days of their lives, and they have to see some of the worst and most gruesome things that humankind sees and face up to real tragedies. And that puts enormous pressure on these officers. So to have them have the support that they need and to extend that support to their families, I think is well worth doing, and I urge my colleagues to support the 5-year authorization of this bill, reauthorization of this bill.
And I would just add that I thank you and Senator Hawley. It's time that we brought this issue forward. We all know that too many law enforcement officers are operating under stress, and some of them can't handle it, unfortunately. We need to be more forthright in helping them. I'm going to add my name as co-sponsor and the entire committee unless others feel differently. Without objection? So the question is now on final passage on favorably reporting S 4235. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The majority of the members present having voted in the affirmative, the ayes have it. The bill will be favorably reported to the floor. And at this point, there are letters of support for this legislation. I ask consent they be added to the record. And I now, the floor is open if anyone seeks recognition.
I just can't wait for the day when you two are alone here at a markup and every bill passes unanimously without us even knowing about it.
If nothing else, this policy will encourage attendance.
Anyone else seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, just one sentence if I
Senator
could.
Coons?
Last year, during Police Week, this committee unanimously passed the Recruit and Retain Act. Senator Cornyn and I did an event with law enforcement leaders from Texas and Delaware yesterday. The House finally saw fit to pass it unanimously yesterday, so it is also part of the broader package. It makes a simple fix to the COPS program that provides some funding for the pieces of recruitment and retention that are a barrier to recruitment and retention because of the cost of background checks and polygraphs. It was a long time coming. It's on its way to the president's desk.
Thank you, Senator Coons. Senator Ossoff.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Graham, sponsors of the legislation, I thank the committee today for advancing these bills that I've co-sponsored to support the hiring of law enforcement officers, mental health for law enforcement officers and their families, and treatment for service-connected cancer diagnoses for law enforcement officers, for folks in rural communities across Georgia, for folks around Atlanta, Rome, Augusta, Albany, Macon, Columbus. Community safety is top of mind, and I'm glad we advanced these measures with bipartisan support. Hope the full Senate will pass them shortly. Thank you.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since he's present, I won't speak for my colleague, Senator Tillis, but we're two of the 4 co-founders of the bipartisan Senate Mental Health Caucus. And in those capacities, appreciate the support of you, Mr. Chair, the ranking member, and the entire committee on legislation to support the mental health of law enforcement officers, just to remind us of the significance of the concern. The latest data still tells us more officers are lost to suicide every year than are killed in the line of duty. More officers lost to suicide every year than killed in the line of duty. They need and deserve our help.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Anyone else seek recognition?
Senator Durbin.
Senator Klobuchar,
Yeah.
and then Senator Welch, and then Senator Booker.
They can go first because I have already spoken. That's
Okay.
fine.
Senator Welch.
I would ask for unanimous consent to have my vote recorded as being in person.
Without objection.
Thank you. And I just want to express my gratitude to the sponsor and also to all my colleagues to make this explicit expression of support for the law enforcement officers who service every day all around the country. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Welch. Senator Booker.
I just want to add some highlight to what Senator Padilla said. The epidemic challenges we're facing with officer well-being is something dramatic. I lost one of my dear friends just a few years ago who was a local police officer in the state of New Jersey to suicide. And I am grateful for the work that we're doing as a committee, but I really think we need to do more to support the profession, to support officers, to find ways to relieve stress, as well as to support those who are struggling. And then on a very different note, Mr. Chairman, a really dark cloud has come over this committee because one of my team members, Malik Neal, is abandoning us. He has decided to leave the United States Senate, the world's most deliberative body and perhaps the most important committee, to go for a shameful location in Massachusetts called Harvard Law. I'm angry, I am upset, and I want to put on the record my intense level of vitriol. This gentleman came into my life with extraordinary recommendations. One of his recommenders, in fact, said, as if to further insult me, from his earliest days, I knew this young man would make the world a better place. While he was still in his teens, I told Mr. Neal that he would one day become President of the United States. Mr. Chairman, you know I tried to become President of the United States and failed. And I was stuck then with this young man who seems to be on a meteoric rise. And so today I want to say, after he helped me for many months on criminal justice, policing, drug policy, and more, while he demonstrated excellence and acumen, while he made me dependent upon his wise counsel, that he has now committed the greatest act of betrayal I have probably encountered in my professional career and is leaving us. I want to mark that for the record and ask my colleagues to either join me in a condemning round of applause for his service and treachery.
Before the applause,
Yes, sir.
I have one question for the record. Is this Harvard a four-year school?
I don't even know if it's an accredited institution, sir. So I wish him best of luck in that dark, cold northern town.
Start the applause.
The applause.
There's no further business?
Oh, I
No?
had-
Senator
yes,
Klobuchar.
Just, yes. You couldn't have a better mentor than Senator Booker, so good luck, and thanks for those kind words about not only are you kind to your own staff, the clerks, everyone knows Corey, and it means a lot to all of them. I just wanted to bring us back for a minute. I was at the vigil, the law enforcement vigil on Monday night. I suggest everyone try to go there once, where you have the bell rings for each state, including nearly every state up here on this dais, and those officers lost, and it is this sense of community that's kind of something you never forget. 282 officers killed in the line of duty, and I wanted to thank my colleagues for recognizing that duty, not only 1 week out of the year, but by understanding that their families, whether they are killed in the line of duty or by exposure to toxic chemicals in the scenes to which they are called, that none of us would ever want to enter into, that we acknowledge them and their families with the work that we did today. And I look forward to working with our colleagues on the COP reauthorization bill and many other things we've done. I'm also proud of the work we've done with the Capitol Police. I think we don't want to forget those, as Senator Coons knows, as the co-chair of the Law Enforcement Caucus, who are around us every single day. After January 6th, we got a new police chief. We made many changes to our protocols around here and security. And people were talking about doing pizza parties, and I remember saying that's not what they want right now. They want our respect, but they also need resources, and we're losing officers daily. And I feel like we have steadied that ship, and that morale has greatly improved in the own Capitol. And so I kind of think you put your oxygen on yourself first, and for those of us around here, that was a really important mission. And what was the benefits, and it was the bipartisan support, but it was also the respect and recognition that they needed for something that happened through no fault of their own, with a lack of planning and other things. So I have felt really good about our police around the Capitol, and I hope you do too. So let's remember them this week as well as we walk the halls. Thank you, Senator
Thanks, Senator
Durbin.
Klobuchar. And let me add to that, I had a visit yesterday from the federal law enforcement officers, and they discussed some of the aspects of their compensation and retirement. It's time for us all to take a look at it. Some of these men and women are risking their lives at great personal and economic sacrifice. And I think it's time for us to realize that the whole world of recruitment for law enforcement is a fierce competition now, and great incentives are being offered. We got to make sure our own people who stand by us every single day have that same benefit.
Exactly, and very good point, Senator Durbin.
And can I just add to that, I had some similar meetings yesterday pointing out the stunning hypocrisy of us talking about how important our officers are, but allowing them to function where their compensation is not just in my opinion, not equal to the commitments and sacrifices they make, but we put artificial rules in place that often cap their salaries, even though they work much longer hours. I also want to reiterate what we've said in hearing here, which was stunning to me, that the lowest paid of the federal law enforcement officers are our correctional officers, who have extraordinarily dangerous jobs, and often have state correctional officers and county correctional officers being paid significantly higher. If we want to show police appreciation, we should start, I really think, with doing things that give them fair compensation.
This is not our jurisdiction, but it's certainly our concern, and I think we can join with our colleagues in addressing this issue in the right committee and do it in a timely fashion. Anything more further to come before this Senate committee? No?
Excellent hearing. Thank you.
Without objection, we stand adjourned.